Hey everyone, a little bit of a Grail acquired recently. Stick around and we'll dive in. Alright, hey everyone. Just wanted to share a bit of an exciting pickup for myself not too long ago. There's an album that I have a repressing of. Had always wanted to have an original copy of it, but it eluded me. So, just the backstory of this as it goes. I am a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. I actually run a second Instagram called Bruce Springsteen Collection, and I've been documenting all the pieces that I have in my collection. It's going very slow. I'm still only on the CDs. Haven't even gotten to the vinyl yet. It's just a lot going on in this collection that I started really when I was probably about 10 years old and all through college. And back in 1998, he put out a little box set called Tracks, which, if you're not familiar with this, it is, as the title implies, it's a collection of tracks. These are unreleased songs, and some B-sides and some other tracks that had kind of made it out into at least the world in some way, but largely unreleased music. It was a 4 CD box set. It actually also came out in a cassette format too, cassette box, which I have as well. But I remember running out, picking this up. I got it at a midnight release at the CD World, and I think it was in East Brunswick, New Jersey. Very exciting times for me. Not long after that, he put out a CD, a single CD called 18 Tracks. Now, 18 Tracks, the idea of this, the genesis of this, so to speak, is that, well, you needed to have something for the, not the hardcore fan, somebody that just wants a little sampling of the unreleased tracks, which we all know is ridiculous, because unless you're a hardcore fan, you probably have no interest in these at all. As great as this is, to the casual listener, this probably isn't something that you're going to be interested in. You're really just going to want the greatest hits album. So even this is probably not something that the casual Springsteen fan's going to want. But to sweeten the deal, of course, they threw on 3 additional tracks, The Fever, The Promise, and Trouble River. Now, especially with The Fever and The Promise, those are 2 songs that Springsteen fans knew very well and were a little bit annoyed were not on this box set when this came out. And then, of course, it looked like a money grab when this CD came out. So anyway, pick this up because, again, huge Springsteen fan. I'm going to buy it because it's got those 3 extra songs that I didn't want. What I didn't realize at the time, though, is that this also came out on vinyl. Now, there was no vinyl release for this. Again, late 1990s, nobody's really pressing a 4 CD box set onto whatever the equivalent number of vinyl pieces might have been required. This probably would have been a 6 or 8 LP set if they would have put this on vinyl. So that's not something that they were going to really do at the time. But it did make sense to put this out on vinyl in the limited sense. Now, at the time, I wasn't buying vinyl. I had no idea this came out on vinyl. Even if I did know it did, I don't know if I would have gotten it at that time. The first record in vinyl format that I bought, once I started moving, kind of like slowly moving from CDs back into vinyl, was the Rising album that he put out, and then also Live in New York City. So those 2 were the first 2 that I really bought on vinyl. So at the time, I just didn't know that this also had a vinyl release. Now, I want to say about 10 years ago, I was in a shop, and it was a secondhand bookstore. Someone that I worked with at the time had mentioned, like, "Hey Terry, somebody must have unloaded their Springsteen collection at the secondhand bookstore. You might want to check it out." So I went down there and looked, and they had quite a few CDs and a bunch of other things, and there were two sealed albums. One was a sealed copy of The Ghost of Tom Joad, which is another one that I didn't realize had been pressed on vinyl at the time, and then 18 tracks, again sealed. Both of them were being sold for $50 a pop. Now think, at today, if you were to say, hey, there's a 25-year-old album still sealed, $50 a pop, you can go like, sure, that sounds like a bargain in today's prices. At the time, $50 was a lot of money, and I had young kids, and dropping $100 on a couple of LPs that I already had in CD format, and certainly not something that I absolutely had to have. I passed. Weeks later, I'm thinking to myself, I really have never seen those in the wild. Let me go back. Just maybe they'll have them. And of course, long gone. So, and the prices on those, I just never went to look really through Discogs or eBay to see if I could get either one in any way. And then when I finally did start really looking as my collecting, as I got deeper into collecting vinyl, I started looking, and the prices on it were not something I was willing to pay. $100. I even today, even with prices as high as they are on certain things, to me, I'm not going to go $100 or higher on a single album. At some point, I just have to cut it off and say, like, that's not where I'm going to go. I'm going to live below this line, and whatever I can get for at a certain price point is what I'm going to get. And if I've got to go higher, then, there's just certain things I'm not going to have or get. So, and both of those albums were on the secondary market. We're talking, 150, 200 in that range. And it's to me, it wasn't worth it. And I figured at some point, because he had already started a repressing campaign, at some point these are going to get out, again. So I figured I'll just wait it out, and at some point, hopefully he'll repress it. So, in the last 2 years, of course, he did repress, and I was able to get a copy in 2020 of 18 tracks. So, I was excited to get this. It sounds pretty good. It's a nice heavyweight vinyl. The inners are really nice. They did a really nice job. The cover on it, nice reproduction. Just overall, I was very happy with it. But I always with Springsteen, like to try to have early or first pressings whenever possible. So, I figured I'll just keep an eye out. Maybe at some point it's obtainable. And I also figured at some point, maybe I would luck out, because, once you get into a repressing of something that hasn't been available for a while, it often depresses the value of the originals, because now all of a sudden something that was no longer really easily or readily attainable is available again in a second pressing. So I thought, well, maybe the prices have come down. Now, generally speaking, they have not. It is still a rather expensive album on the secondary market, but I just kind of kept looking. Periodically I go back, and I found a seller who had a copy out recently. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't sealed. The description on it was pretty spot on, solid, but the price, his description of the actual albums sounded pretty good. They sounded like they were barely played. A little bit of creasing on the actual album jacket. Probably a little tough to see on the camera, but there's a couple little imperfections, a little rough edges along the side. Nothing too bad. There's some slight creasing over here. Not horrible. You can really, unless you hit it in a certain light, you barely see it. A little bit of ring wear on the back, more so than the front. But again, you really can't see it. And the discs are just really clean. I haven't listened to it yet, but everything was flat. There's really no scuffs that I could see. I'm excited to play these. They look really good. It's interesting. The inners, it included the inners also, which is interesting because these are a much lower quality than what they did in the repressing. The repressing, very thick, heavyweight stock on the paper. These are obviously much lower quality. But yeah, no, I was overall I was excited to get it. He was asking below $100 and was willing to take a best offer. I came in under the best offer. Just put out a price that I thought was fair, and thought that he might accept, and waited an hour or two and got a response, and he accepted my offer on it, and I was happy. I'm assuming he was happy. And again, I'm just thrilled to get another piece of the collection that I've been looking for. At this point, really the only ones that I don't have original first pressings of, or very early pressings, like with some of his very early albums, I'm not 100% sure if I've got first pressings or just very early pressings on a couple of them. But I'm down to just needing the Ghost of Tom Joad, and then the vinyl version of the MTV plugged performance, which was only a European vinyl release, if I recall correctly. I have both of those. I bought Tom Joad came out at the same time as 18 Tracks when they did the repressing, and then the MTV Plugged was included with the Volume 2 repressings box set that he did a few years ago. I think it was 2017 or 2018. So, overall, just glad to have this one. It's a cool addition. And it's always fun to get something you've been hunting down for a while and looking forward to. So, let me know in the comments below, is there a Grail of sorts that you've picked up recently, or something that's still out there eluding you? Let me know. Be sure to give this comment a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't, and we'll come back with another video soon. Take care.